So we're opening the afternoon session with a case study, and we're going to be talking to Kaitlyn with Synergy Comp Insurance Company today. We've been working with Kaitlyn for just over a year now, and we've done some pretty cool things, some different things on this project. Most of the standard stuff, so we'll talk a little bit about that. First, we'll talk about Synergy Comp, who they are, as you can relate to them. I'm a work comp carrier and so on. Then we'll talk about their systems. So what they're using, what they used to use, what's different, what's better, what's worse, whatever. We'll talk about that. Then I wanted to talk about their implementation. They did it a little bit different, and it went really well. So maybe we can share some of that experience with you guys. And then finally, we'll close with talking technical. So the open database and what they're doing. And Jesse is over here, a recent hire they have, and the benefits of hiring somebody like Jesse in that type of role. So we'll talk about that, and maybe you can take that back to your own company. Okay. So first, we'll just do introductions. So I'm Trevor Lightbound. Some of you know me, or most of you know me. I work on implementations. I've been kind of taking a step back and kind of working more top level. So I'm not on the day-to-day calls usually, but I have been on most of your calls, Kaitlyn, right? Coordinating some of that work. And Kaitlyn, want to go over your role at Synergy Comp?
I'm Kaitlyn Hockenberry. I'm the systems manager at Synergy Comp. Started my role at that company more in the underwriting area. As an underwriter, and transitioned more into the IT aspect, running reports, and we were challenged with going from a manual process to an automated process. So that's when I was moved into the systems manager role that I currently do right now. You want to talk about Synergy?
Yeah, let's talk about Synergy. But before we do that, I want to let all you guys know Kaitlyn put us through an RFP process.
We did.
And yeah, boo. So if any of you think about an RFP, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. So we had to answer all these questions and all that stuff and jump through hoops.
It was truly the best thing for us as a company, because when we started this process, we did not know what we needed and who would be the best partner for us. Going through it, to us, at the end, it was clear. There was no really decision on our end for it. We're a very unique company in what we do. We have a niche market, and we do a lot with loss prevention. We have our own claims, and we needed somebody that would fit with us and we would have a good relationship with to build out the unique things that we did. And by far, this is the best relationship I think we could ever have with a vendor. So in my mind, this was the right decision that we made when we partnered with CHSI. So
yeah, it's been really positive. But I'll tell you, when we left your office after that RFP presentation, Colin and I guess it's a synonym with unique. We said they're a very unique company with unique processes and unique needs and unique reporting needs. And but we were able to accomplish that. Yes. So that's cool. Before we get into Synergy Comp and what they do, Kaitlyn was kind of in a nomination process and ended up getting top 11th most, what is it, most?
Women in leadership?
Women in insurance leadership this year. So she got a whole write-up in a digital insurance magazine, and so I think we should all give her a round of applause for that. That was cool. That was really cool. All right, so how about you talk about Synergy and just sort of let the crowd know what type of business you're in?
Yep. So Synergy Comp was founded in 2006. The main goal of the company was we write high mod accounts. We like 1.0 and above, and a minimum premium of $100,000. So we started in Pennsylvania, and our goal was to help clients that have high mods and drive their mods down. We have a loss prevention piece to our business that's very hands-on, and we felt when we started this business that there's a need to cover these people that need help, and that loss prevention piece can help drive that mod down. So that was our beginning in 2006. We mainly focused on manufacturing and healthcare when we first started. We're now expanding into more waste management, agriculture, social services, and we started in Pennsylvania, and we're now into 4 states. We're in Michigan, Maryland, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And our goal now with Connections is to manage those 4 states, but to really ramp up to expand. Our goal is to expand into additional states, and that's what we're looking to do. So kind of what Synergy is and what we do, kind of have a unique model. Most people don't like the high mods and don't like high risk, and we do.
Yeah.
That's what we thrive on. So,
how many policyholders do you have?
we have 75 right now.
25.
So we don't have a lot. We have about 18 million, I think, in premium, and looking to grow that into 30 million in the next year.
And they're just work comp?
Yes.
Right now?
Work
just
comp
workers'
only.
comp. Okay. You guys report to any bureaus?
We do. We're pretty much all independent bureaus. So do you want to talk about how manual or stuff?
Well, which bureaus you report in, and then we can talk a little bit.
So PCRB is our main one that we report to, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit unique in some of the things that they require in their reporting. So report to the PCRB, KOM for Michigan, Maryland's NCCI, but it's also a little bit independent, and then NJ-CRIB for New Jersey.
Awesome. All right, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about systems and what you did before Connections. Okay, so let's talk about the Filemaker system.
So we started off as a company pretty much on Excel spreadsheets. I think like a lot of people in this room have started their company. And it worked in the beginning because we don't have a high volume of policies. But as we grew, because we are such a unique carrier in what we write, we like to do a lot of analysis. We like to provide a lot of information to our clients. And we have, different reviews that we do with them every year, twice a year, and it became so manual that it just wasn't manageable unless we would just hire bodies, and that wasn't what we were looking to do. So we started to build our own system with Filemaker, which is an Apple product. We went through the process of building that system just to get quoting, because we didn't have a system to quote in. It was just all Excel sheets that we did our quoting in. And our accounting people struggled because they didn't have a system to go pull data from for any of that unless they had all the individual sheets and put it into another Excel sheet. So we started off building a Filemaker database of quoting. It was a separate module, so we could pull up and quote primarily in Pennsylvania, and then we added additional states into that. From that, we built on additional modules for our unique proposals that we do, because we analyze all of the losses on a proposal, and our reviews that we do twice a year for our clients. So we added those two modules on it into Filemaker. We didn't have anything for billing, regulatory reporting, and we knew the goal was to grow into additional states. So we didn't really want to grow an IT department and have a full-blown management of a system. So that's kind of when we got to the point of Filemaker served its purpose. We learned a lot from it because we literally built it with an IT firm that had no insurance background whatsoever. So it was pretty much built off of our knowledge. We felt that at that point it wasn't really sustainable for us if we wanted to grow and do it right. So that's kind of when we went through that RFP process and found Connections. So that's where we turned to going from what we learned in Filemaker, what we knew, what we didn't want to do from what we learned with Filemaker, and going to Connections to get, a core system that does what insurance needs it to do, but it's flexible. It's completely flexible for what we do and how we use it to build those additional models into.
I'll jump in here too. They have a proposal process that really is an output of it's about 100 pages or more. And some of it's static and some of it's not. And it's loss data, policy, premium, everything all put together into one giant report. And they'll actually, when they're writing a quote, they'll go on site and they will deliver a presentation to some manufacturing company, 2 hours, and they'll come in there, the loss control team, a whole team of people. So these reports were coming out of their Filemaker system, and they were doing it in this way where they were dropping it. You guys were dropping just different reports on just a file drive, right? A server. And Filemaker would go and by dates aggregate all these things together. So it's this really kind of crazy process. That's what Colin and I were looking at each other going, how are we going to do that? There's at least 40 different reports in that 100-page thing that you're calling one report. Right. And then they do a 5 and a 10-month executive review. It's smaller, maybe 50 pages or something, 40.
That's actually reversed. Executive review can be bigger.
Oh, that can be bigger. And they do that at the 5-month and the 10-month period, and they provide that to their insureds to say, here's where you're at right now. Because they've taken the high mod on, and we're saying we can improve it, so it's showing the process. So that was kind of something that this Filemaker system did, very specific. That was a real big challenge for us.
Yeah, but it works now.
It does. So let's talk about what's different now. You know, what's different in this world today versus back then, not just with Filemaker, but just internally with everything.
The biggest thing for us is we have the data in one spot. I mean, we took our claims from our claims system because we handle our own claims, integrated it daily, it goes into connections, and we have our policy and premium data in one spot. So that's something we've never had. We were never able to run and analyze data like we are now. We're still early in those stages, but that to me is the biggest thing, because connecting up data between two different systems, and when you're manual, it's almost impossible unless you're spending all your time doing that. So to me, it's having data in one area.
They use CHSI Riskmaster for claims right now, and they manage the claims themselves, but they're using that software to do it.
Yep. And I think, you know, the ability to underwrite, we are very involved in our underwriting process. We follow the same process for every submission that comes in. We look at all of the claims for their prior history for the last 5 years. We analyze that data. We're very specific because we are taking on high risk, and it is large premium that we have to underwrite it consistently, and it has to be thorough. We do a loss prevention inspection on every account on site, and that's where we're marrying up that stuff now, of how do we get the data, how do we get it aggregated so it's a quick and easy way to assess it, and have the underwriters have that ability quickly at their fingers. I mean, they used to key in loss runs and then aggregate that data and put it on another document. So now that data, we can import it straight into connections, and we can export our reports that we need and have it right at their fingertips. So I think that's one of the biggest things that underwriters have seen. And even having little things as far as being able to put a task in a system. We never had that ability. Underwriters didn't have a daily task list of what they could do, what they had to do, and that flexibility for even, we have supervisors that are new in their role, and how do they manage these people that are underwriters, and what's their workload, and how do I know what's going on? That ability to see everything is huge, I think, as we grow.
Yeah. Can you share, or do you have any stories about an efficiency that you've gained, maybe with a report or a process? It used to take this long, kind of thing?
Yeah, our executive review is, like Trevor said, kind of a mix of, here's some analytical reports with some static documents, and then client-specific documents as well. We took that process initially when we had enhancements from when we went from manual to a FileMaker, but even more so when we went from FileMaker to Connections. And I would average that we had an hour to 2 per review that we would compile from FileMaker per insured, and we did that twice a year. So that's 150 hours a year that we had with just generating these reports, not even looking through them, validating them, anything like that. So it took an hour to 2 hours to complete that. Now I would say it's 10 to 15 minutes out of Connections. So I would say about 80% reduction in the time that they have to spend just to create the report, which is huge, because as we grow, that's just going to get larger and larger and larger. So
part of that too is, I mean, there's people that work at Synergy. Kaitlyn and Jesse are both there working to support the team. They're not the underwriters or the accountants. They're making sure that it's 10 minutes. And so they're ahead of the game. They're already on their next month's run before the underwriter even needs it.
Right.
So we're talking to these two saying, are you guys good next month? Have you, oh yeah, we already ran everything way ahead of time. It's all looking good. So they're on top of their game as well, you know, because you can't let that slide too.
Right. Because our underwriters have spent a lot of time in the past prepping for this, preparing for this stuff, and we write a lot of business 1/1 and 7/1. Our 5 and our 10-month reviews fall in the same spot, so we can have 25 of these in 1 month. When that hits, that's a lot of time that they spend, and it's the busy season, so for 7/1s and 1/1s to do not only these reviews, but still underwrite everything like normal. With us doing that process of going a month in advance, it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot smoother for them, and a lot less issues that they have to go through. So.
Yeah. How has the staff reaction been at Synergy with the new system?
I think it's been great. We just had a meeting with the underwriters last week. To me, it was the best meeting we've ever had with them because it's now to the point where they've used the system since January, and we're looking proactively to say, we want these automatic tasks generating out of the system, different fields that they want to add, and different reports that they want to look at things differently. So I think in the beginning, there's always change and understanding how this is going to impact people, but I think our team has definitely stepped in. They've given valuable input for what they want to see, and I think Jesse and I have listened to that and taken that into consideration to figure out how can we make the system user-friendly for them and make their lives easier.
So let's go back to compliance. What were you doing before, and what are you doing now?
So for polls and stat, we manually entered everything. And since we write large risks, especially with the stat reporting, we hand keyed in every claim, which is a lot of claims for us. We have probably 12,000 claims in our system. So
I've seen some of those loss runs.
Yeah.
I mean, is this right? Is there actually 3 claims on the same day?
Yeah.
3 different people? Oh, yeah. Same company.
It's normal. So for us, I mean, stat reporting was hard because actually the underwriter would do that stat reporting. We don't have a compliance department, and we had some changes in our company, and now that kind of lives in the accounting realm with regulatory reporting. And we knew that wasn't sustainable with the volume of claims that we had and our growth goals. So with connections, where actually our polls reporting is weekly, that's kind of on track with no issues. And the stat, we're doing first reports. Everything's going very well with that. That's alleviated a lot for us. First reports are the biggest ones. And we're going to be testing subsequents this month. So definitely a big change for us. It's been a big pain point for us. So Connections has helped with that a lot.
So they have probably the most charts and graphs that I've seen so far in doing all these implementations. They have a lot. You know, an example of those renewal charts and graphs, there's probably 8 or 9 in one report, you know, different breakdowns. So that's what they've been doing for a long time. I think the future for you guys, and this afternoon we're going to go over analytics, the embedded analysis that's in the system, or using ad hoc reporting, and getting away from crystal reports and that type of thing. That's probably their future, right? Driving a lot of the charts and graphs and things. So.
Yeah, because like we talked this morning, we want to get away from that analysis and get to the insight portion and the wisdom portion because we've been doing an analysis for quite a long time. We've done that since I've started, and that was 9 years ago. So now
you can start predicting probability of something happening. Right.
Modeling data, what's trending, what's going on. That's what we want to get to.
Sidebar, you should talk to Tyler.
I know.
He has predictive modeling, kind of, it's his thing. So great. All right, we're going to go to the next section, which is implementation project management. I want to share a good quote from a very intellectual person. Let's take a... Oh.
IT guy.
It's on the screen there.
I don't know what happened.
It's not there.
Hold please.
Thanks, Lee. So we all start the project with the best intentions, the best plan, and at some point, something hits the fan, right? And we have to react, right? And we have to do something. So it's just sort of a constant in every project. There's something going to go wrong. But the way that Synergy Comp handled the implementation was pretty awesome, pretty professional. So let's talk about this project management. What did you guys do? Where did you fit in with all that?
Yeah, so for implementation, I know before we even signed our contract, we kind of outlined our priorities, what we wanted to implement, and we knew what we wanted. But when we started, it was like, okay, what do we do? We took a very active role in implementation. I know you guys have your weekly calls most likely, like we do. But we took it where we pushed every week. We have weekly meetings internally as a group. After we talk to Connections, we get with our CFO. We go through each item that we've discussed, where we're at, what our implementation items are, what our goal is. We set goals internally for ourselves for what we wanted to achieve, and we shared that with Connections as well. So for us, it's our responsibility to implement it. Connections is there to help us, but especially since we're so unique, we have to be the driver in that. It's crucial for our growth. This system is crucial for us to be successful as a company. So I feel like we kind of have that burden to make sure that this is successful. And we had to set our priorities. Connections isn't going to know what our priorities are. They may start an implementation with, we have to get, core systems set up, but we kind of started, we needed data imported. So we got a lot of our history imported right off the front, which I don't think that's something you guys typically do.
Right.
But that's kind of where we started. We did implementing with importing history and testing history and making sure it was correct. So for us, our goals were shared with Connections. Even now, weekly, we have a priority list that we have. We share that with Connections, so we're all on the same page. We constantly meet internally to restructure what's our priority and make sure that we're hitting our goals that we need to.
What I like too is that they have a dedicated team. So they on a call, they'll have 4 or 5 people. Sometimes their CFO, who is pretty busy, and he doesn't really want to be involved, I don't think. But he is. He'll make the time. And Jesse and Kaitlyn are dedicated to this project, as well as other things. And then there's Linda, right? She'll be on with the underwriting hat on, and there'll be Tish with the billing or accounting hat on, and others as we need it. And that really kind of drove a lot of it, right? Because it was Kaitlyn and Jesse's responsibility to kind of wrangle their side, as well as us, right? So you were reporting to Eric, and you were getting priorities and reporting back to us. Really critical part of the process. She was right in the middle of it all and was communicating with Colin and I every single day. It's less now.
Yes, it's less.
It's great.
Good.
We had a period there where we come in the morning, we're East Coast, so we're 3 hours ahead of us. We come in the morning, Trevor and I look at each other. How many emails from Kaitlyn did you get?
I have 15.
They're always very, she's always very polite about it. We didn't mind it. It actually worked well to have work lists. She's like, where's this? Where's this?
Yeah.
Oh, here. We always had the answer.
And I think at one point we had the conversation, do you want one big massive email? Because I think we were doing that. Or do you want individual? And you're like, give me individual, because then I can just cross them off when I'm done. Yeah. So
We had a very sophisticated color coding system as well, where you reply 100 times and it looks like a rainbow. We're like, okay. But just to wrap it up, she's done a great job, and she's really been dedicated to it. And I like what she said. It's her responsibility. It's ours as well, but it's really something that you got to take seriously on your side too. We can't do it all for you.
And you have to build the system to work for you. I mean, Connections can build you guys a system or outline whatever you guys want, but if you guys have something that you do differently or it's unique to what everybody else in the industry does, you're the ones that know that. So with your knowledge and your help, I think that makes it work very well.
Yeah, that kind of goes into the next question of what advice or tips you would give somebody else starting out.
I say as a company, you need to determine what your priorities are, structure it, and communicate that to Connections. I think we struggled a little bit this year with trying to get too much done because we have all of these different things that we want to do, and then just piecing it down to here's our top 3 things that we need to get done. Because if we don't get those done, we're not going to move on to the next. So I think prioritizing is a big thing to have a successful implementation.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk a little bit on the technical side now. First, we'll talk about the open database. So they, just like you guys, have access to an open database. If you're not using it, let us know, and we'll get you access. But what types of things are you doing in that database, and how is that helping you internally?
So we have Jesse that we hired as a report writer, systems analyst for our company because we knew that we were unique. We have a lot of reports. I'm sure everybody has their reports that they want to look at, and it's not going to be an out-of-box report that you have. So getting into that database allows us to understand the database and build reports so that we want them to be set up. I think that's crucial because then you're not going back and forth with Colin, whoever you're working with, Jordan, to set up these reports when you know exactly what you want, how you want it, and how it should be structured. So, and if you set it up to manage it going forward, if you want to tweak it, change it, it's easy because you've already built it yourself. So I think that's a huge benefit. And using the open database, you have the access to it. We've fixed data instead of going back to Colin constantly to fix things that we've had historically imported that we're working through and validating. Just going in there and updating it to what it should be. That saves a lot of time.
Yeah, some of your processes are kind of, we've created a SQL script or something like that, but there's really nowhere to run it, or it's run ad hoc. So Colin may have created the script, and we've provided and taught Jesse and Kaitlyn how to run these things. So they're actually kind of doing things on importing data, their own losses for new business, you're importing losses. So they're doing a lot of things like that you guys could also be doing. And we kind of have the mindset of they want to do it, so we'll teach them instead of doing it for them. Or, hey, I did it this time, but here's what I did. And they've just been picking it up and going and going. Even to the point where Jesse wanted full access to every single report or something like that. And we were like, well, hold on, we'll just slow down here. But it's almost at that point where it's just 100% control, go for it.
Yeah.
What about hiring a systems analyst?
Yeah, so when we did our RFP process with Connections, we had outlined all the reports that we had today at that point a year ago and what our priorities were. And when we looked at it, to justify the cost to have Connections do it, it didn't make sense for us at all. We looked at it and said, we need to hire somebody to do this because we knew we were going to grow. And to manage it, there would be additional costs, not of just building it, but if you want to change stuff, there's additional costs with that. So we knew from looking at that and talking even to Connections themselves, they said, this isn't what we do. We're not report writers. We can do it, but that's not what we want to do. That's not what we kind of aim for. So they said, we'd suggest that you guys would do that yourselves. So that's when we brought in Jesse. He was an intern with us 2 years prior. He actually did not have any SQL knowledge at all, and he's kind of learned himself through this process. We even came out and stayed with Connections for 2 days, and they kind of taught Jesse the ropes, showed him the database, showed him where to find everything. If Jesse ever needs anything, Colin shows him exactly where it would be, what he needs to do with it. It's been a huge time saver for us because we're not wasting our weekly calls going through reports that can be built by Jesse. I mean, a lot of the stuff is pretty quick, easy, and simple to build with Crystal and with SQL. So that's been a huge benefit for us. It was just, as we grow and to manage this stuff, wouldn't be, I don't think, fair to Connections to have to do that either. So
the sheer number of reports that are custom to your team, for us to manage that would be a body, right? And the cost would be great.
Right.
So.
Because we have what our reports are today, but as we grow, we're going to look at this stuff differently by state, which we don't technically really do right now, by underwriter, by field person, by loss prevention consultant, by claims manager. There's a lot of things that we don't do that we're going to want to do that wasn't even on that list and when we talked to Connections about. So that gives us the ability to build whatever we want, whatever we think of. So
yeah, not a lot of the companies we work with and you guys here have dedicated IT resources.
Push for it. It's worth it.
Yeah. So, Latoya. It's worth the cost in the long run because they're not just doing connection stuff. They can do a lot of different things. If you have a claim system, they can get in there. They can do all kinds of things for you. So it's really good value. All right. So we're wrapping up soon here, and we'll open with some Q&A. I'd like to get you guys to ask questions about anything, systems, the implementation, anything you'd like. But I want to ask Kaitlyn one last question. So this is your second year here. What are you looking to learn right now?
I'm looking to learn from you guys. I think when we came last year, we hadn't really started the process of implementation, and now being a year in it and using the system, it was beneficial for us to talk to everybody in this room last year for what you guys have gone through. I know we talked to a couple people and said, you're going to be surprised in 3 to 4 months where you're at. We left here thinking that was a joke. And in January, that's when we rolled out the system. So it was like 3 or 4 months after we left here, and we rolled out the system for our underwriters to use, and we were amazed. So I've learned most from you guys in this room, what you guys do and how you do it, and finding what's similar in what we do and how you guys have gone through it. So that's my biggest takeaway from last year, and I think will be this year as well.
Cool. Awesome. Any other final thoughts?
Not really.
No? At this time, we'll open the floor if you have any questions. We'd be happy to answer them. Michelle?
So how many modules do you actually use of the system, the quoting portal, the CRM, do you use all that?
We don't use the portal currently. We're not going to do quoting online. We may do like submissions online, but since we write such large risk, we don't want to give a number out. But we use quite a bit in connections.
Yeah.
We're going to look next year to use the evaluate tool because we have the loss prevention.
Yeah. They're using CRM, policy, billing, claims, lots of different like integrations and things they have. Crazy custom reports. That documents tab of the quote
Is full.
has 3 columns full with, I don't know if there's a scroll bar or not, but there's probably
There is.
60 or 70 things in that they have.
Also, a few that actually does deductible billing.
Yes,
So we're doing all the different deductibles.
which is great. We only have one large deductible, but we manage that manually. And
Are you using the payroll, you're not using the payroll audits function?
Oh, they are
Yeah.
using audits.
Yep, we use that.
Full policy. So
Yep.
they have all of that. Compliance. We're probably missing a lot of things. Kaitlyn's the probably sole driver right now of a digital signature, something
claim intake.
for the
Come on.
portal. So she's done a lot of legwork on researching different companies that have great APIs. So we're looking into that right now, how to integrate with some company.
yeah, because we want to roll out claim intake potentially next year.
Yeah.
Good.
You mentioned that you have a lot of analytics in your reporting that you do for when you go deep with your members. What do you use for your analytics software?
Say that again. Sorry, I can't hear
What do
you
you
very
use
well.
for your analytics software?
What do we use? Right now, we're just using Crystal Reports, and we have business intelligence for claim software for data that we may not have in connections, but very interested in the Izenda that I know that you guys are going to talk about. And that's going to be a big push for us because we did hire on a data analyst, I think is his technical term, to do modeling and trending starting next year. So.
Yeah, so Sam, they are kind of old school. They've just come up with their own charts and graphs, and they have created it themselves. And with the help of Colin and Jordan, their visions come to life now. They even do things like they have a renewal report where they're truing up the rates to the current rate for the past however many years. And they're doing all this kind of crazy stuff I've never seen before. So very interesting. So maybe you should ask her to see a few of them because she's got a whole bunch.
Yeah, we've learned more about Crystal in the last year doing those reports.
Yeah.
Because there's really nothing you can't do in Crystal. It's just very, very, very hard.
Yeah.
We have all sorts of pretty graphs that do weird graphic. So those are weird graphs.
I know there's one that you almost couldn't get, but you did get.
Yeah. But it works.
Yeah.
It's like using that square peg in that round hole, but it worked. And hopefully I said it's going to take a lot of that from you.
Yeah.
Crystal filled the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
You said that your system analyst didn't come with any real knowledge of the SQL. So, what tools did you seek to provide that knowledge?
So he took, what class did you take? I can't remember what it's called. You guys actually suggested one of them. We'd have to look to see what it's actually called. But he was still in school. He was finishing up his actuarial, not technically mathematics degree, whatever it is. And we had him go through, I don't know if it was a 3-month program. It was kind of an online thing. And then he kind of just learned it. He learned it a lot from what Colin had already built in SQL. I think that's a big thing that you can learn from.
Yeah, the way I learned was just by editing reports, just making small changes to the reports they'd already built. You see the SQL there, and you kind of learn the tips and tricks that they use along the way. So that was the biggest tool for me.
That's how I learned as well. Edit, go in there and get in there, you know.
Me as well, I just wanted technology. It was some type of course or something.
Right.
I did.
There are a lot of online tools right now, so I can send you a few links. That's what we did for Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it'll help or not, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah.
YouTube is great.
Yeah.
Actually, some of the links are YouTube
Yeah.
channels for that.
And if you just get in there, I mean, that's how you learn probably the best, is just getting in there and playing around with it until you actually, you can read about it in a book, but until you actually apply it, I think that's the easiest way to learn.
It helps to have a math background.
Yeah.
So go get a math degree first.
Sorry, after I'm not.
And you're perfect for it.
Schooled out.
Any other questions? Does anybody want to hire Kaitlyn?
She'll beat you.
Thanks, Kaitlyn.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.